Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Cliff Seal, and this is Building Advocates with Experiences. As someone in the user experience industry designing experiences for other people who are designing their own customer experiences, I can tell you that the term experience has been carrying a lot of water in recent years. In new post-COVID research from Salesforce, 80% of respondents said the experience is as important as the product. 82% of B2B buyers were willing to pay more for a great experience. Now, not to get too far out there right off the bat, but what does experience even mean at this point? Lost in a sea of expensive technology and epic marketing campaigns are the foundational tenets of human experiences, what they are, why they matter, how to create them, and how to know that they're working. And while experience building can and often does accelerate revenue, fixation on that metric alone will blind you to the best opportunities to improve. Realizing gains from customer experience can take time, but it's well documented and it's reliable. Expensive marketing campaigns and new technology and great product design even aren't the secrets to building memorable experiences. It's far more personable than that. It's about meeting people where they are, addressing their concerns, measuring your effectiveness, and then making it a repeatable process. It's not complex, but it is difficult because it means being vulnerable. It means listening well, and it means acting thoughtfully. It means doing all of these things regularly and reliably, interaction after interaction. Then you're building advocates. See, one reason experiences are more valuable to us than material things is because experiences can be anticipated. In a 2014 research paper published in Psychological Science, researchers concluded that we derive value from the lead up to a positive experience and that the effect was significantly greater than when you just buy something material. And what is an advocate if not somebody who experiences positive anticipation related to your company? Someone who realizes that they'll need to get in touch with you or make a purchase and is excited about it? That's far more than an immersive marketing campaign or a personalized website can do. So I'll show you what this looks like using a range of vetted and cited research, case studies from familiar brands, and clear next steps for you. But along the way, we're going to talk about someone known for masterful experience building, Jimi Hendrix. Why? Because the mythos of his life often betrays a series of thoughtful, reasonable decisions from someone who deeply understood the human-to-human component of experience. He described his debut record as a statement. Let us through the wall, man. We want you to dig it. That's an approach to experience building that can keep you both grounded and motivated. How do you get through the wall and connect with someone? Well, first of all, Jimi Hendrix was left-handed and often played a Fender Stratocaster with a distinctive reversed headstock. And that wasn't just for style. It was a guitar made for a right-handed guitarist, flipped over and restrung. Now, guitars are not symmetrical. They're made for either right or left-handed playing. The tone that Hendrix was able to produce was unique because he literally was playing a different guitar than other people. The slanted rear pickup now captured each string differently. The altered tension of the strings changed the way each one could be bent in this new flipped position. At first, Jimi played this way because left-handed guitars were hard to find and really expensive early in his career. But by the time that they were prevalent, he'd already become a master of this way of playing, and it gave him access to a range of tones that few other guitarists could achieve. After all, you'd have to be left-handed to do it, right? Hendrix didn't need the most modern technology to become one of the world's greatest guitarists. He mastered the fundamentals of the instrument that he had, and then later, that unique sounding flipped over guitar became an asset for a master of tone. Great experiences do exactly that. You master the fundamentals first, and then you take advantage of opportunities to be unique and memorable. Let me give you an example. I recently bought a Rad Rover 5, an electric fat bike from Rad Power Bikes. I went from complete unfamiliarity to literal advocacy to this brand within a span of a few weeks based purely on that purchase. Now, Rad Power is an award-winning brand, and this bike is the best-selling one of its kind, so my experience is far from unique. But they gave clear examples of what it means to master the fundamentals and then take advantage of those unique opportunities. So first, the fundamentals, okay? This bike is a great product with solid reviews at a reasonable price. There's no getting around that, right? But if you've ever ordered a bike instead of buying it in person, you know that there's a lot more to consider at this point, right? What if it's the wrong size? Not all sizes are the same. Can I do the assembly here myself? Do replacement parts even exist for this bike if I need them in the future? Is there a support department to even ask if I have questions? How expensive and complicated is shipping going to be getting it to my place? On practically every page of their well-designed website, they addressed these concerns directly and clearly, but the way that they address them is unique too. Shipping is free, so there's no math involved anymore at getting it here, right? Second, they offer a 14-day free trial and a documented process for sending it back, which completely eliminates concern about fit or size. These assurances about the customer experiences set them apart from competitors, but it didn't stop there. On top of offering in-house expert support 7 days a week, the entire process here, from ordering to shipping to assembly of this bike, was intentionally designed. It's really obvious. Both written and video instructions were available and they were well produced. Everything went exactly as expected after I got this and put it together. And assembly is usually a thing that you dread and then you endure because you really want whatever it is that you're assembling. But here, through deeply understanding the online bike purchase process, Rad Power Bikes can turn a simple process into something actively positive. I know that a company that cares this much about experience is likely to be helpful if I need something in the future. Now, here's another quick example of nailing fundamentals. Recently, State Farm Arena, where the Atlanta Hawks play basketball, finished a nearly $200 million renovation. After this, the Hawks ranked first in the NBA in overall game experience. 79% of fans said the experience was great or outstanding compared to 57% the year prior. Okay, 79% versus 57%. Now, the Hawks EVP said that in going through this big transformation, they looked not only at the physical arena, but to, quote, transform everything that we do. Now, I think that's great, but I want to point out how being transformative doesn't always have to mean something wildly expensive or honestly even that creative. See, one part of this so-called transformation was introducing what is unironically called fan-friendly concession pricing, where prices were cut around 50% for 12 high-demand food and beverage items, right? Chips are $1, bottled water is $3, pizza is $4, cheap beer is $5, among many other reasonably priced offerings. Now, unsurprisingly, the ability for lower and middle-class families and friends to go to a game without spending $20 on a hot dog contributes to making the experience better in a measurable way. Now, making obvious experience improvements like that pair well with the type of visionary work being done by Melissa Proctor, who became CMO for the Hawks in 2016. Under her leadership, the Hawks have become more distinctly Atlanta, in my opinion, drawing out culture and history that only my hometown can offer. One example of that is she launched MLK Nike uniforms honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which generated a $100,000 donation to Atlanta's Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, a business incubator for women-owned businesses. So all of that together is what's making a great brand experience for the Hawks. So let's talk about applying this idea. Let's go back to Jimi's backwards Stratocaster. You want to use the resources and knowledge that you already have to master fundamentals and take advantage of unique opportunities. To do this, look for snags and difficulties in the process of being your customer. What's more difficult or more opaque than it should be in the process? What can you do just a little better than your competitors? So here it's the little stuff. It really is. Why do I have to constantly give the same information to tech support? Why do I have to call to cancel my subscription? How can I try this shirt on before I'm stuck with it forever? Basic stuff, right? Now, if you're not sure what to do or you're looking for more snags and opportunities, one surefire way to get answers is to talk to your customers. And actually, not just your customers, but pretty much anyone who interacts with your brand. Your advocates are great, but you don't only want to talk to them if you're trying to find out what you can do better. Now, I won't go into these a bunch here, but if you don't feel confident interviewing folks for research purposes, a little preparation will truly go a long way. So I recommend looking into a few options based on your level of comfortability. First, if you're not able to invest much time or energy in learning about doing a great research interview, then at least research the 5 whys to give you one simple qualitative research technique. If you're new to research but are willing to learn a little bit, check out Just Enough Research, a book by Erica Hall, for concise expertise on just getting the job done well. If you're looking to go deeper into the way you talk to customers, the Jobs to Be Done framework can give you a fresh approach to these conversations, and there's a whole range of research and thought out there for you to find. Finally, invest in snags that you can uniquely address. We've talked about looking for snags, talking to customers to find more of them, but now we want to invest in the ones that you can uniquely address. Like Jimi Hendrix, what is it that you can do that no one else can do? For Rad Power Bikes, their willingness to offer a 14-day return window and not charge for shipping was tailor-made for bike shopping online. At your company, these opportunities often show up as personal touches from the service or sales team. If you're having trouble coming up with common issues that you can uniquely address, go talk to those teams as well. Find out what they're hearing, find out what's getting in their way. Because as we'll see shortly, these human-to-human interactions are key to advocacy. The image of Jimi Hendrix lighting his guitar on fire is the stuff of rock legend. Without knowing the story behind it, the image easily slots into our mental conception of Hendrix as the genius who was spontaneously inspired to create a controlled fire in front of tens of thousands of people. But the world's greatest experience creators are rarely shooting from the hip. Hendrix was scheduled to perform at Monterey Pop Festival in June of 1967, and it was to be his first major American appearance. Now, also making their first American appearance was the literal loudest band in existence at that point in time, The Who. They'd set the record of 126 decibels just weeks before and were known for a raucous show, complete with instruments being destroyed and the occasional piece of gear catching fire. Hendrix and The Who were already competitive with one another, trying to show one another up. Monterey Pop Festival was a key opportunity, and this is a true story. Hendrix only got to play after The Who because he won a coin toss backstage. Going on after the loudest band in the world is quite a challenge, and he'd already been told that just smashing instruments would seem kind of repetitive and uncreative. But Jimmy's secret weapon was a little bottle of lighter fluid that he hid on stage. Late in the set, he grabbed the bottle, soaked the guitar, and created that iconic moment that we all remember today. But what you probably don't know is that he tried this stunt earlier in the year. And when he did, he was described as, quote, lying on his back striking matches for 5 minutes in the middle of the set because the matches kept going out. Now, this was the opening night of a new tour, and he burned his hand so badly he had to go to the hospital. Great experiences are rarely spontaneous the way we imagine them. You need precision to use lighter fluid to light a guitar on fire, but not, say, burn the entire stage down or irreversibly damage your hands that you use to play guitar. You need planning and practice to create these great experiences, but there's nothing quite like a human being fully committed to creating a unique experience for other people. There's a lot of power and magic in that. That's why your human touch points are so critical to the overall experience. Recent Salesforce research shows that 91% of customers say they're more likely to make another purchase after a positive customer service experience. I'm not sure why this gets overlooked so often in customer experience discussions. It's pretty direct. If you want more sales, give people a positive customer service experience more often. That same research shows that 80%, 83% actually of customers now expect to engage with someone immediately when they are contacting you. And that's a 5% jump year over year. Thanks very much, COVID-19. And so that's why it matters who's on the other end of the line when somebody gets in touch with you, whether it's a phone call or a chat or an email or a social DM. That human interaction is as much your brand as your logo is. A recent New York Times article told the story of someone making a, quote, routine call to Zappos customer service, but ending up on a 45-minute personal conversation with Crystal, who is on the other end of the phone. Obviously, someone somewhere is very good at PR in order for a good customer service call to become a New York Times article, but it did mention that Zappos decided to create what they called customer service for anything, which was a dedicated phone line for anyone to ask anything, get help with your order, call just to talk, or apparently, this is true too, get 300 pulse oximeters to a hospital in Australia. Zappos was already known for customer service and a collaborative internal culture. So this was a really easy opportunity for them to create more positive experiences after more positive experiences. Many companies could have had this idea, but wouldn't have been able to pull it off. And the X factor here is internal collaboration across departments. Zappos was known for it, but we also see from Salesforce research that high-performing marketing teams are 3.7 times more likely to be very satisfied with this type of collaboration. It's not just departments working together to come up with creative ideas, it's departments working together to solve a customer's problem. When individuals are empowered to create positive personal experiences, collaboration between them acts as a multiplier. These people aren't just representing your brand in a generic sense, they're literally spending their days having interactions with the potential to increase satisfaction, revenue, lifetime value, and more. These human interactions are your greatest opportunities to create advocates. So to seize this opportunity, you're going to need to set countless guitars on fire for very small audiences. Now, Hendrix had a tiny bottle of lighter fluid and used just enough to put on a show, but did not start a forest fire. So what's that little bit of extra that only you can provide? These interactions won't scale by design. That's what makes them valuable, and that's why they create advocates. So make sure you're empowering your employees to be empathetic and human at every point of contact. Hire people for these customer-facing jobs who care about others and want to help people. Give them as much leverage as possible to solve problems quickly for customers. High-performing teams collaborate across departments, sharing successes and failures and ultimately creating a more cohesive customer experience across the entire life cycle. So allow these teams to experiment and look for opportunities to apply more of that lighter fluid without burning things down. Finally, find your company's lighter fluid by measuring, get this, employee satisfaction and customer lifetime value. Now, there's a lot to say about how clearly research has shown that employee experience directly affects customer experience. You cannot pay someone a meager wage or force them to work long hours or abuse them and then expect them to create valuable customer experiences for your company. You cannot ignore their claims of a hostile or sexist or racist work environment and expect them to collaborate and share freely. So listen to your employees and give them a safe, creative environment in which to do their work. Overlay employee satisfaction with a longer-term metric like customer lifetime value. You're looking for proven, high-value interaction opportunities that teams feel capable of doing and enjoy doing. Now, you'll miss all this if you're too exclusively focused on profit. You actually need reliable, passionate people who want to come to work every day to help others in order to create these experiences. It won't make sense if you're only approaching from a profit maximization standpoint. See, the hard truth is that corporate responsibility doesn't stop at your employees either. Just as you can't build meaningful customer experiences while ignoring feedback from your staff, you also can't build them while ignoring your responsibility to the world around you. In Trends in Customer Trust research, Salesforce found that 95% of customers say their trust in a company makes them more likely to be loyal. Building that trust can be daunting because it does require public transparency and the willingness to engage in, quote, social issues. Perhaps Jimi Hendrix's most iconic and iconoclastic moment was playing the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock in 1969. Much like the onstage guitar fire, this moment in rock history can feel like pure spontaneity and creativity presented to a welcoming sea of hippie concert goers. But in reality, the path to this moment and beyond it is nuanced and difficult. So take a look at another angle here of Hendrix's Woodstock performance, and you'll see that actually the crowd had dwindled pretty significantly by the time he was closing out the festival. That's because the pictures that we're looking at here showing a view of the crowd from behind Hendrix, these pictures were taken around 10 a.m. on a Monday morning because the closing set at Woodstock had been delayed from the following night. So this is already not the storybook ending we might envision when we think of Hendrix playing the national anthem at Woodstock. But for those folks who think a protest song at Woodstock in 1969 was obvious and easy, it's worth a reminder that taking a meaningful moral stance on, quote, social issues is almost never obvious and easy, especially for Jimi Hendrix, who is a mixed-race veteran. Hendrix played a version of the national anthem 30 times in recorded sessions alone before now. It was a thoughtful and rehearsed and intentional piece of music. He had been getting death threats for playing it. Death threats for notes on a guitar. So it might seem like not saying anything at all about anything ever is the safest move for a company. But in a recent Trust Barometer report from Edelman, they found 81% globally said the ability to trust the brand to do what is right is a deal breaker for buying decisions. So let's start with an example that's going to terrify your boss for sure. Back in 2011, Patagonia ran an ad in the New York Times on Black Friday with a picture of their jacket and in huge letters, "Don't buy this jacket." Yes, it's provocative, and yes, it probably did register some form of reverse psychology purchase effect, but it's very clear that Patagonia was sincere in pointing to their values and responsibility over making another sale. It's clear not only because of the explanation Patagonia gave at the time or in the rest of that ad copy, but it's also clear because of how they've acted both before this ad and since then. Their consistent commitment to corporate responsibility is well documented. An entire decade before the "Don't Buy This Jacket" ad, Patagonia made a donation to Planned Parenthood, a nonprofit who provides reproductive health care. They responded to a series of complaints by donating an additional $5 for every negative phone call and letting every negative phone call know that they were doing so. Soon the calls stopped. And as a note, sales were fine. In the decade since this New York Times ad, they've continued to donate 1% of all their revenue to environmental conservation groups. They've sued presidents to protect national monuments. They've boycotted Facebook, and they've donated to fight voter restriction laws in Georgia. And after all of those things, sales are still fine. Here's another example. Early in 2021, Sephora released the Racial Bias in Retail study, along with a slew of initiatives and goals designed to promote diversity, inclusivity, and equity. These were the culmination of internal efforts started in 2019 to address feedback from customers and from employees. When Sephora faced public accusations of bias and discrimination against Black and Indigenous people of color, including one really amazing SZA tweet, they didn't dismiss or downplay that feedback, nor did they attack the people who were accusing them. They got to work. They listened more. They established plans and goals, and they announced those publicly so that they could be held accountable. All of this builds on what we talked about before. All of Sephora's good planning won't matter without empowered employees who believe in the changes and want to help customers. These human touch points are still the most critical moments of any customer experience. Being corporately passive isn't an option if you want to survive and grow moving forward. You have to find a space to make a positive difference in the world in a meaningful way as a company, like your own personal Woodstock, sharing a powerful message with advocates who care. Now, much like the backwards guitar, you want to find your own Woodstock by starting to look in an unexpected place. Evaluate your criticism. What sort of criticism do you receive from customers and employees? How can you engage with it honestly and be curious? If you're at a loss for how or why your company would take a public stance inside your particular industry, your customers and employees will likely have the right ideas. Advocates want to be able to say good things about the companies that they support. If you're not sure you understand a particular critique, run a research interview. Find out where the passion is coming from and what they want from you instead. It doesn't sign you up to do it, to have a conversation with someone to understand them better. Next, take a hint from Sephora and engage with established community leaders if you're getting involved in a cause or a movement. More than likely, a nonprofit or even an individual is already doing great work in your community. Partner with them and avoid the temptation to do everything by yourself just because it's easier to market. Community leaders will give you honest feedback, which you need to be effective, and they can maximize the use of your funds and volunteer hours thanks to their experience. Finally, lead transparently and acknowledge mistakes as a company. Study after study is showing that customers want to be able to trust a brand to be a decent global citizen, but they currently have record low levels of that trust. Even Patagonia has faced criticism, but they dealt with it directly. Around 2011, they did a social responsibility audit and discovered what they called modern slavery in our supply chain. Now, it would have been really easy and sadly very normal to dismiss this concern by saying it's too pervasive to be fixable, which is what plenty of other companies have said. Patagonia said it was pervasive, but also that it was personal and urgent for them, acknowledging the reality but choosing to take it on. So they partnered with an NGO to fix the problem and then publicly documented the process. That sort of sincerity and accountability breaks through the wall. People dig it, and you can do it too. So to conclude what we've talked about so far, first we talked about finding your Stratocaster. How can you go hard on the fundamentals and then use the skill that you develop in the meantime to your unique advantage? Find out what's hard about being your customer or being in your industry and invest heavily in fixing those problems. Second, we talked about finding your lighter fluid. How can you empower everyone in your company to be empathetic with customers and vulnerable with colleagues? Employee experience is strongly correlated with customer experience. So how well are you treating your people? Finally, find your Woodstock. Where are you willing to take a stand and do hard work with conviction? How can you engage meaningfully and transparently with criticism? How is your company truly impacting your community, your culture, and your world? Building these experiences are simple, but it's not easy. It means being thoughtful and responsible individually, collectively, and societally as a company. Building advocates with experiences means doing the hard work that no one sees to create moments that everyone talks about. To see more talks or learn more about me, go to cliffseel.com.